97.3 Citi FM. Relevant radio, always. Hello and welcome to another edition of Business today with me, Vivian Kai, local on Citi TV. Now this afternoon we have the MasterCard Foundation officials from there who will tell us about the foundation and some of the programs they're involved here in Africa, specifically to do with financial inclusion. I'll go straight to the discussion today, and I have with me here this afternoon Roger Moria, who is the Senior Manager Communications for the MasterCard Foundation. Roger, welcome to Business Today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's go straight to the discussion. Tell us about MasterCard Foundation. Who are you guys?
Good question to start. MasterCard Foundation is a relatively young foundation. We're just celebrating our 10th year this year. We were formed in 2006 when MasterCard itself went public. It sold its shares and it decided to create a foundation. So we've been operating since then. We have about $11 billion in assets, and we focus on two areas for the work that we do, almost always in Africa. But in Africa, we focus on education for young people, either in high school or in university, or financial inclusion. That is, making sure that people who don't have access to financial services, bank accounts or accounts at microfinance institutions, that somehow they obtain that access and they can get on a better path out of poverty.
How many countries are you active in Africa?
In Africa, we work now in about 31 countries.
Great. Now let's look at the issue to do with financial inclusion, which is one of your main core activities. Recently, you launched, or you were in Accra, and you launched a competition for 2016. Tell us about this competition.
Okay. Well, we think that one of the key reasons behind poverty in rural Africa with smallholder farmers is the fact that these smallholder farmers don't have access to finance. They don't have bank accounts, they don't have ways to save money safely and conveniently. They don't have credit history, so they can't borrow money. And they need to borrow money to get the right seeds, the right fertilizer, the right tools, the right trading to increase their productivity. If they could produce more, they could sell more, and they could work their way out of poverty. But in order to get access to money, it has to be convenient, it has to be safe, it has to be inexpensive for them. So we launched a fund last year, $50 million fund, and we call it the Fund for Rural Prosperity across Africa. And what we're doing under that fund is we're dividing it into two windows. One window is for innovation. We're looking for really smart, creative, innovative ideas about how to get those farmers access to the finances they need. And the second part, for $35 million, is a scaling competition. And that's what we launched here in Accra this week for 2016, a scaling competition. This is for companies, microfinance institutes, banks, anybody who works in financial services. If they have an idea that is currently operating for maybe 50,000 people, but they think they can scale it to 500,000 people or a lot more, we want to hear from them. What is your idea? How can you scale it up? And then we might help you with financing of that, if it's a good idea.
So let's concentrate with the scaling, then we'll go to the first one you mentioned. So the scaling, do you have, apart from, wanting to fund the farmers, etc., is there a process these companies go through, or these microfinance companies go through?
Well, in terms, they have to go to our website. All of the criteria are there. But basically, if you are a financial services provider, and if you think that you can provide more financial services to people in rural parts of the country, here in Ghana, for instance, or if you're a Ghanaian company and you can expand into another country, whether it's Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria or some other country, we want to hear from you as well. But we're looking for ideas, new ideas, to reach a large number of people in rural Africa to allow them to have access.
Now, you awarded 5 people who won for the 2015.
That's
what
right.
are some of the ideas they came up with?
Well, one of the ideas, for instance, one of the winners was a company called Mkopa Solar, and they provide solar energy kits for people in rural Africa. And the idea is that the people buy the solar energy kit for about $35 American, and then they pay a little bit each day through their mobile telephone. In doing that, they're establishing a credit history. So if farmers do that, they can establish a credit history, because over the course of time, the banks will know that you pay every day for your solar kit. They can then extend credit to the farmers for other reasons as well. As I said, for fertilizer, for tools, for training, to get access to markets. Another company that we're giving some money to is Equitel, which is a subsidiary of Equity Bank in Kenya. And they are coming up with an idea to enable farmers to access finance on their mobile phones in a very simple way. But they're now saying they can do it with hundreds of thousands of people in Kenya. So we're going to help them to expand that.
Okay, so with that one, do you have to be from any country in Africa to be qualified for it?
You have to be, you can be from any country to qualify, but the program has to be implemented in one of 8 countries, and Ghana is one of those 8 countries.
We didn't see any of the winners from Ghana. Was it that there was no applications from Ghana?
No, there were a certain number of applications from Ghana. We had about, there were 5 winners in the end. We had about 180 applications, so there were some from Ghana. It just happens we have a panel of judges, international judges and business experts. They looked at the applications and they thought that these 5 were the ones that are most likely to succeed. That doesn't mean others wouldn't, but they decided that these reached the largest number of people and that were the most likely to do what we hope, which is to give access to finance to large numbers of people.
Now, does the foundation always go through organizations in terms of extending financial support to, say, when it comes to financial inclusion, those people who affect? What is usually your process like?
Yes, we always work through organizations. We don't deal directly with individuals, whether it's farmers or other individuals. We work with organizations such as One Acre Fund, for instance, which is very influential and very prolific on the ground in giving farmers access to finance. We work with organizations like Habitat for Humanity, Save the Children, some UN agencies. So we provide them with the support they need to do the work that they do.
Now, what would be the organization's impression about financial inclusion, for example, in Ghana?
Okay, well, across Africa, and Ghana is on average with other African countries, about 40% of people have bank accounts. That's much, much lower than the rest of the world. If people have access to finance, if they have bank accounts, if they can save money safely, conveniently, cheaply, and if they can access that money, if they can borrow money, then they can improve their livelihood. So we think that Ghana has a way to go already in access to finance. I noticed that an official from one of the large Ghanaian banks was in Washington at the IMF World Bank Spring meetings, and he said in order to reach large numbers of people, mobile money is the way to go, which is fine, but getting mobile money into parts of rural Africa is very difficult at times. So that's a step in the right direction. We want to encourage more creative ideas like that.
So apart from these initiatives that the MasterCard Foundation is supporting, we know of the Youth Forward initiative. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, Youth Forward is a very interesting idea. We launched that a few months ago. We came to Ghana and we said that we were going to put $75 million into 2 countries, Ghana and Uganda. And this is for youth who are either just leaving school, but more particularly youth who are unemployed, who don't have full-time employment yet. We're going to work with organizations who are going to provide internships, mentorships, training, job training, actual work in 2 areas. One is the cocoa sector in agriculture, and the other is construction. Because we think in both those sectors, there's the greatest opportunity for employment for youth. There are jobs that can be created and should be created. So we're going to help to, through the organizations we work with, we're going to help to train youth how to apply for a job, how to do some basic work in construction and cocoa, and then the companies that employ them will provide the rest of the training.
So which organizations are you working with to do these things?
The main organization here will be Solidaridad, and they will be finding the youth and working with other organizations in Ghana itself to find the youth who could qualify for this. We're talking about low-income youth from disadvantaged backgrounds who don't have jobs now, who don't have income, and we're trying to help them get a regular paying job.
Okay, so somebody watching who would say, well, I think MasterCard Foundation is doing a great job, but it appears Roger is talking about organization. How do individuals get involved or in this initiatives you're doing? Must it always go through an organization?
It always goes through an organization. So I think one thing is to watch the news, Be aware, look on the internet, look on television, look on radio, look in newspapers to hear about this. But Solidaridad, I think, is a good organization to watch, and when they make some sort of announcement or they reach out to other groups, you will hear about this. The program is called Youth Forward, and you will see, I'm not saying advertising, but you'll see some sort of information circulating about the Youth Forward program.
What about organizations who want to be part of the MasterCard Foundation, some of your initiatives? How do you also do that?
Well, normally what we do is we contact organizations ourselves. We have people on the ground who come through as well, who visit, who are aware of what the issues are, what the needs are. We can't receive applications from organizations because frankly, we would be overwhelmed.
Yes.
We only work, just as you mentioned, I just want to mention, we will only work in two areas: education. So we offer scholarships for disadvantaged youth in high school and universities, but through the universities themselves, not directly. And then we also work in financial inclusion. So that's what I was talking about, the fund that we created, and then the youth livelihood aspect of that as well.
Okay, so if you're interested, you have to go through those organizations.
That's right.
Okay. So finally, before I let you go, what is your impression in general about access to education? Because I know you're doing something in education as well here in Ghana. And then after you answer that, we'll look at financial inclusion to access to finance from small-scale farmers, etc. But let's take the education part.
Okay. Well, one thing that is in common between the education and the financial inclusion is our core philosophy. We think that every individual, no matter who they are, should have opportunity to learn and to prosper. So that means removing obstacles to people so that they can learn and that they can prosper. On the education side, if an obstacle to you getting an education is you cannot afford the high school fees or the tuition for university, we want to help remove that obstacle so that you can go there. Now we're looking for disadvantaged youth as well. These are the people who receive the scholarships. In terms of financial inclusion, it's the prosper side as well. We think people can prosper if they're given the opportunity to do so. And part of the blockage in the system is that people do not have access to finance. So if we can remove those obstacles, remove those blockages, and people can have access to a bank account, they can save money, they can borrow money, they can send money safely and cheaply and conveniently, and that will get them on a path out of poverty.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roger Moria, who is the Senior Manager Communications for the MasterCard Foundation. We want to say goodbye. You've been listening to Business Today on Citi TV with me, Vivian Kai, local.